dot item, as you might guess, del choice. It's the particular paragraph inside all graphs that we want to get rid of. The rest of del node can go away, except for one new line. Node changing area dot remove child kill graph. So that removes the child of node changing area, which is the paragraph that we selected to delete. All the hard work, though, really is done by node changer. So we're going to cut and paste parts of it in to make things a little easier for ourselves. Here's our first part of node changer. We start off creating some variables. Action type is set to -1. That's going to contain which radio button the user picked. Current paragraph count is set to node changing area, get elements by tag name p, dot length. So it's how many paragraphs are there inside node changing area. And radio button set is the set of radio buttons called node action that is inside forms. Then we loop through radio button set trying to find the one that's been chosen, the one that's been checked. When we find the one that's been checked, we set action type to be I. So action type can have 3 values: -1, which is our default coming in, 0, which is add, and 1, which is delete. Now, because it's got 3 possibilities, we're going to use a switch statement on it. I've pasted in the next block of code. We're going to use a switch statement to avoid doing if, else, if this, else, if that. It's much simpler and clearer to do a switch. So switch case 0, it's add node and then break. Case 1, which is delete, we say if the current paragraph count is greater than 0, then call del node and break. If the current paragraph count is 0, it will fall through into the default, which is also where you'll end up if you've never picked a radio button. And in that case, you'll get a message saying, alert, no valid action was chosen. And lastly, here's where we reset the number of paragraphs in the pop-up. We set the graph count options length to be 0. We loop around through our number of paragraph tags inside node changing area. And for each one, we add a new option at options I with a value of I plus 1. If you're not too familiar with what's going on here with the options, you might want to take a refresher look at the forms lessons, which covered creating a dynamic pop-up menu. So now that we have finished our code, let's save it and switch over to our browser. Reload the page. So let's try out our new functionality and see how it works. Here is paragraph number 1. I'm going to add this. And paragraph 2. And paragraph number 3. And you can see our pull down could pick 1 through 3 with 1 as a default. So let's delete number 2. You say number 2, delete, submit. And now we could pick 1 or 2 again. And down here is paragraphs, just number 1 and number 3. So along with adding and deleting nodes, just adding on to the end and deleting from the end, now we can pick particular nodes in the middle and delete them. So next up, we're going to see about just adding new nodes in the middle. If you can add nodes to the end of a document and delete nodes from anywhere in a document, you should be able to insert nodes anywhere into a document. And in this example, we do just that. In the script.html file, we've added one more radio button called Insert Before Node. For those of you with exercise files, we're looking at Chapter 10, Example 4, script.html. Over in our script.js file, we don't need to add a lot of code. This is the same code as we've used previously, we're just adding on to it. And along with case 0 and 1, we're now adding case 2. Case 2, if current paragraph count is greater than 0, then we want to call insert node and break. If there aren't any current paragraphs, we certainly don't want you to be able to insert before any of them. So it works the same way that delete does, where if there aren't any current paragraphs, you don't want to be able to delete them either. That should be case 2. In both case 1 and case 2, deletion and insertion, we check to see if the current paragraph count is greater than 0. If it isn't, if the current paragraph count is 0, it will fall through and hit the no valid action was chosen option. So now we want to add the insert node function, and we'll put that one right after del node. Insert node. And this one's a little lengthy, so we'll copy and paste this one in. We're setting up some variables here in insert node where we've just pasted in our code. In choice gets the selected index of graph count. That's where we're going to want to insert it. In text gets the text area value. New text creates a new text node, and new graph creates a new paragraph. And new graph.append child new text works just the way it does in add node. There's nothing new here. There's also nothing new in this line where all graphs is set to all the paragraphs inside node changing area. Then we set old graph equal to the item that is currently at that location. If we have 5 paragraphs and we say we want to insert before paragraph 3, we're going to save paragraph 3 inside old graph. And we want to do that because right here we're going to do insert before. That's a method on node changing area. And we do insert before the new paragraph and the old paragraph. We end up with both of them. Nothing's deleted, but old graph says where you want this new paragraph, and new graph is what you want inserted. And that's all there is to this. Now we're going to save it and switch over to the browser, reload our page, and try this out. This is number 1. We're going to add this because we can't do anything else. And 2, and 3, and let's say 4 also. Now we're going to delete something. Let's delete paragraph 3. And it's gone. But now we want to put 3 back in. So we'll say insert before paragraph 3. The third paragraph is this one here, which is a text that says paragraph number 4. We want to insert 3 before that. So we say insert before and submit. And there we are again. And so that's all the code it takes in order to both delete from anywhere and insert from anywhere. Next up, as you might guess, is replacing. In the same way that we've added nodes to the end and deleted nodes from the end, and then learned how to delete the nodes in the middle and insert nodes in the middle, we now want to actually replace particular nodes. And you might think, well, you can just delete it and insert it, but why do 2 steps when you can do 1? And this example is going to show us how to do that. All that's changed in the HTML is we've added one more radio button called Replace Node, and it's part of the node action group. Here in the JS, for those of you following along with the exercise files, this is Chapter 10, Example 5. For those of you in the JS, this is Case 3. And let's just copy and paste code from insertion because it's really similar. If it's greater than 0, then we want to call a function we're about to write called replace node, because just as with cases 1 and 2, with deletion and insertion, you cannot replace something that doesn't yet exist. So now we want to create a new replace node. And let's put it right after insert. Function replace node. And so now I'm going to paste in the code that goes here and then discuss it. Here's our new replace node function. Let me scroll up so you can see replace and insert at the same time. You can see that the two are very similar in a lot of ways. In replace, again, we start off getting the selected index, setting in text to be the text area that was entered, new text, new graph, and new graph append child in just the same way. Create our new text element, and then the paragraph element, which contains that text element. All graphs contains all the P's inside node changing area, and old graph contains the paragraph that the user selected. And the one difference is this line here, where previously we did insert before in insert node. Now we're doing replace child in replace node. And that is the entire difference between the two. This one gets the old one to put it before it. This one gets the old one to overwrite it. So let's save our file out and then jump to the browser. Going to reload this. And let's enter some paragraphs. Here's a paragraph to start things off. And we have to add because you can't do anything at all until you've added one. And another. And yet another. Here's paragraph number 3. Oh, wait, that's not number 3, that's number 4. So let's pick number 4, change it to be 4, change it to replace, and say submit, and now it's 4. This has been a brief introduction to the document object model and to nodes and to some of the many things you can do when you work with the tree structure of the document itself. We've only been able to scratch the surface, so there's a lot more to it, and I hope